Greetings, everyone, and welcome to SpaceWeek Live on this Sunday, February 20th, 2022. Cargo goes up, angel investor goes down. Let's take a look at the events of the past week in space. So, Firefly Aerospace has traveled a bumpy road. It began back in January 2014 as Firefly Space Systems, founded by Tom Marcusic, pictured here, P.J. King, Michael Bloom, and a small group of entrepreneurs. Later that year, it moved its headquarters from California to Texas. In December 2014, though, Tom Marcusic's former employer, Virgin Galactic, Sir Richard Branson's space tourism company, alleged that Marcusic had provided the Firefly Alpha development team with Virgin's intellectual property, and that he had destroyed hard drives and computers in order to cover up his tracks. While this legal drama unfolded, Firefly forged on ahead. Their business plan was to become cash positive by 2018, anticipating a robust small satellite market. Their first hot engine test firing was in September 2015, with the first Firefly Alpha rocket launch planned for 2016. In August 2016, though, an independent arbitrator confirmed that Marcusic had indeed destroyed evidence. Shortly thereafter, a major European investor pulled out. Though, according to Marcusic, the reason for their pullout was Brexit rather than the Virgin arbitration. That same month, Virgin formally filed suit against Firefly and two of its officers. Firefly's entire staff was furloughed that October. By December, and again this is 2016, Firefly had ceased engineering work, and the following March it was announced that Firefly's assets would be sold at auction. The company went bankrupt and was being liquidated. One sec. Enter Ukrainian businessman Max Polyakov. Though educated as an OBGYN, he made his fortune through business software ventures, the internet, and internet websites for gaming, dating, and marketing. In March 2017, the same month that Firefly went bankrupt, his company Noosphere Ventures, that's N-O-O, Sphere, Noosphere Ventures, bought out the Firefly Space Systems assets and resurrected the company as Firefly Aerospace. Polyakov committed to fully funding Firefly through at least their first 2 launches. Development and testing resumed. The Firefly Alpha rocket design was overhauled, its aerospike engine was replaced with a pump-fed design, and the first launch was projected for 2019. In May 2018, Firefly opened an R&D center in the Ukraine, equipped with the largest 3D printer in that country, intended for producing precision metal parts. That November, NASA selected Firefly as one of 9 companies that could bid for their commercial lunar payload services contract. Firefly's Genesis lunar lander was proposed. In February 2019, they announced new manufacturing facilities and a launch site at Cape Canaveral. Then in December of that year, the ghosts of Firefly Space Systems reappeared. A group of investors in the original company filed a lawsuit alleging fraud and that Tom Markusik had intentionally bankrupted the company. That lawsuit is still pending. Fast forward to February 2021, when NASA awarded Firefly $93 million to develop exploration technologies for Artemis commercial moon delivery. Finally, last September, Firefly launched their Alpha rocket for the first time from Vandenberg in California. You may recall the live stream here on this channel. It made it off the pad, but unfortunately there was an anomaly in the flight, and they engaged the explosive flight termination system. Then in November, Polyakov, remember the Ukrainian investor, received a letter from the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, or CFI-US. CFI-US is an interagency committee that includes the heads of the Departments of Treasury, Justice, Homeland Security, Commerce, Defense, State, and Energy, and various other offices and councils. It's a serious committee charged with ensuring the national security of the United States with regards to business transactions, real estate deals, mergers, things like that. The letter asked Polyakov and Noosphere Venture Partners to sell their stake in Firefly, citing national security concerns. It's worth noting that this letter was sent before the most recent increase in tensions between Russia and the Ukraine, which we've been seeing in the news. Polyakov, who invested upwards of $200 million in Firefly, vehemently denies any threat to national security, but he agreed to comply. Last Wednesday, he posted this message on Facebook. I am giving up for $1 consideration all my 58% stake in Firefly to my co-founder and partner Tom. Dear CFI-US, Air Force, and 23 agencies of USA who betrayed me and judge me in all your actions for past 15 months. I hope now you are happy. History will judge all of you guys. Max, love Ukraine, and yes, I have Ukrainian passport, and I am founder of Firefly! Exclamation marks. Buy my bird, in quotes, and at the end of the days, I'm proud of what I've done for my land, soul, and heritage. And so apparently, the original founder, Tom Markusik, will own all of Max Polyakov's shares in Firefly Aerospace for the rock-bottom price of $1. Firefly's Ukraine facility will most likely close, and there is also the pending litigation against Markusik from the original investors of Firefly Space Systems. So we'll see how that all plays out. In other news, car maker Toyota has announced that it's working with the Japanese space agency JAXA to develop the Lunar Cruiser, a vehicle for driving, eating, and sleeping on the moon. Oh, I'm covering up the little dude. Sorry. I can't duck and get out of the way. The name is an homage to the Toyota Land Cruiser SUV. The Lunar Cruiser will have a robotic arm with interchangeable tools that attach to the end, such as a scooper, grasper, etc. Project head Takao Sato said, "We see space as an area for our once-in-a-century transformation. By going to space, we may be able to develop telecommunications and other technology that will prove valuable to human life." The design of the lunar cruiser is reminiscent of NASA's Mars crew rover prototype, which resides at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center if you want to see it in person. It was also featured on, what was it, Jon Stewart and, anyway, yeah, there was some TV personalities that drove it around New York one time, a couple of years ago. But it's actually a very cool vehicle. And I have no idea how much it cost NASA to develop, but I hope the design isn't wholly scrapped, because it is a really sweet ride. Now, kicking off last week's live streams, last Sunday evening, an Indian PSLV rocket successfully launched the EOS-04 Earth observation satellite. Let's check it out.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Plus 5 seconds.
सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन PSLV C-52 आसमान की ऊंचाइयों पर जाता हुआ PSLV C-52
Stage performance.
Unfortunately, the typical South Indian cloud cover prevented us from seeing the rocket for very long. But successful launch and deployment. Congratulations to ISRO. And here we see the satellite separation.
EOS-4 को उद्दिष्ट कक्षा में अंतक्षेपित किया जाएगा.
EOS-04 satellite separated.
और यह हर्ष कपल आ गया है. EOS-4 को उसके उद्दिष्ट कक्षा में अंतक्षेपित कर दिया गया है.
Major milestone of the mission has been achieved. The EOS-04 satellite has been injected into its orbit. To follow next are the co-passengers InspireSat-1 and InSat-2TD.
On Monday, a Russian Soyuz 2.1A launched the Progress ATP cargo mission to the ISS. Soyuz has a very distinctive and awesome looking engine thrust profile. So again, successful launch, and it arrived 2 days later on Thursday morning in the wee hours, my time, a little bit later, UTC. Here we see the Progress craft rotating into position. It did this is played at 2 times speed, so it's a little accelerated, but it did a bit of a fly around as it oriented itself to the correct port on the Russian side of the space station. And let's see. Flying. Here's some nice views of it coming around. Those white panels that you see are they are not solar panels. They're heat distribution panels. They help radiate the heat from the ISS, because getting rid of heat is one of the biggest challenges of spaceflight, and ISS absorbs and generates a lot of heat. So to get rid of that, they have these heat panels that are, oops. All right. Then on Saturday, a second cargo launch to the ISS, this one a Cygnus NG-17 spacecraft on a Northrop Grumman Antares rocket, lifting off from Mars, or the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport on Wallops Island, Virginia.
T-minus 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have engine ignition.
Yep. And Antares launch vehicle from the launch flight facility. Engines are at 100% thrust. Altitude is nominal.
And we have liftoff of the SS Piers.
So somebody commented during the during this particular broadcast that they love the ripping sound of the rocket as it ascends, which is of course literally the sound of the air being ripped apart in the due to the rocket's exhaust pushing out the air at supersonic speeds. But what I don't know is how much of what we're hearing is due to the microphone that happens to be in use at this particular launch site, and how much is of that ripping is audible in person. I've never actually seen a rocket launch, and I know that different rockets, of course, sound different as different rocket engines sound different as they take off. I don't know, maybe one day I'll take a tour of launch sites and provide a personal perspective on the matter. I'd really love to get some quality audio recordings of launches, but that's precious hard to do because if you're within good hearing distance of the launch, that is, if you're within a few miles of the launch, chances are you're surrounded by other people who are watching the launch, and your sound is going to be overwhelmed with the sounds of, your audio is going to be overwhelmed with the sounds of cheering and whatnot. People milling around and talking. But in any case, maybe someday. So, let's see. Also yesterday, SpaceX tweeted a gorgeous drone video of Starship S-20 being destacked from Super Heavy B4. As you may recall, they stacked Starship 420 prior to Elon Musk's presentation last week. Now, during that, was it last week or the week before? In any case, presentation within the past 10 days or so. Now, the FAA's decision, the Federal Aviation Administration's decision on the SpaceX environmental assessment in Boca Chica, Texas, was delayed from December 31st to February 28th after they received more than 18,000 comments on the draft report. So next week we should have a clearer picture of when we might expect the much anticipated Starship orbital launch. If the FAA rules favorably, Starship might fly as early as March. What do they call those? The chopsticks? I think that's just the colloquial name. SpaceX called it the Launch and Catch Tower. Okay. So looking ahead to this week, that actually wraps it up for last week. Looking ahead to this week, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. All right. Tomorrow morning in the wee hours of starting at 3 a.m. Eastern, 0800 UTC, begins coverage of the rendezvous and capture of the Cygnus NG-17 cargo spacecraft at the space station. Capture is scheduled for about an hour and a half later, and then an hour and a half after that is the installation coverage. So, as you may be aware, Cygnus is does not have an autonomous docking capability. It has to be grappled by the Canadarm2, the space station remote manipulator system, the robotic arm. And so they grab it with the robotic arm, and then they berth it to one of the berthing ports, as opposed to Crew Dragon or Cargo Dragon, the Dragon 2, I should say, whether crew or cargo, and any of the Russian ships, whether they be Soyuz or Progress, they are able to dock themselves to the space station. The Russians to the Russian side, the SpaceX vehicles to the American or international side. So I will actually not be covering this live. Normally I would. My policy is to try to provide live streams of everything at all hours, but this is like from 3 to 6 a.m. on a Monday morning, and I have an obligation to try to be somewhat functional at work. Even though my kids have a day off of school, I still have to work. So I'm actually going to bypass this one, but you can catch the coverage on NASA TV. So just look them up either on Ustream, or they have their own YouTube channel. So sorry for that, but I'll be skipping that one. Then at 9:44 a.m., also on Monday at 9:44 a.m. Eastern, 14:44 UTC, SpaceX will be launching Starlink 4.8, another batch of Starlink satellites, from Cape Canaveral in Florida. Now, this was scheduled for today, but I guess the weather is not being cooperative, so they delayed it until tomorrow morning. Now today they had 2 instantaneous launch opportunities, one at like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. and the other at like 2 p.m. So I don't know if they will have a second launch opportunity tomorrow afternoon as well, if the 9:44 a.m. One drops out. But as always, launch schedules are flexible, and so pay attention to the calendar, which is linked in the chat, as well as your notifications from this channel regarding live streams. Fast forward a few days, on Friday, February 25th at 10:30 a.m., 15:30 UTC, is a second SpaceX Starlink launch, this one from Vandenberg in California. They'll be very much like, so this one is designated Starlink 411, so we went straight from 8 to 11, and I'm not sure exactly why that is. I mean, if you look at the launch schedules, you've got 8 and 11 this week, and then 9 and 10 are scheduled for future weeks, like in March. So maybe it was just this particular, Vandenberg launch got, put on the schedule ahead of the other 2. But in any case, so the numbers are going to be a little bit out of order for the next few weeks. But so we're going to go 8, 11, and then 9, 10. But later that same day, on Friday at 6:44 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:44, 23:44 UTC, is a Long March 4C launch, Chinese rocket, with the LSAR-01B satellite. And as usual for Chinese launches, there will be no live coverage. Similarly, on Saturday, February 26th, at 11 p.m. Eastern, 0400 UTC on the 27th, is a Chinese Long March 8 core-only vehicle launching the Hainan 1 through 4 and assorted rideshare satellites. So, again, no live coverage of that one. And then next Sunday, because we've got, wanted to make sure not to forget this, we have on next Sunday, February 27th, at 3:35 p.m. Eastern, 2035 UTC, we have a Rocket Lab Electron launching the Strix Beta satellite for Japanese-based Synspective. It's an Earth imaging satellite, and this mission is designated the Owl's Night Continues, named sort of in reference to the Strix Alpha launch back in 2020 of the Owl's Night Begins. So, Synspective plans to launch more than 30 small radar observation satellites to collect data on metropolitan centers across Asia that will be used for urban planning and development, construction, infrastructure monitoring, disaster response. Now, this Strix Beta is the first of 3 dedicated Electron launches of Strix satellites for Synspective. There's one more scheduled for later this year, and then the third will be in 2023. And so because of the timing of this launch, basically right over the top of when I would normally broadcast SpaceWeek, I will be delaying next week's SpaceWeek until 5 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC. So next week's SpaceWeek is 2 hours later than usual because of the Electron launch. Unless they scrub, whatever. I'll have to play it by ear. If they scrub more than a day prior to, or rather if they get delayed with more than a day's lead time, I'll move SpaceWeek back to 3 p.m. Eastern. But otherwise, it'll be at 5 p.m. Eastern. So I'd like to take a moment to thank and welcome our new, returning, and upgraded channel members. Oh, where'd my thing go? Evgeny Myasnikov, let me get that right. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the crew. And Irna, welcome back. As well as Michael Kamradt has upgraded to Rawkstar. That's Rawkstar, our highest tier of membership. So thank you very much, Michael Kamradt. All right, let's get to your questions. If you have tagged my name as you're supposed to. All right. Okay. I love Jeff Bezos with the name that can't be changed. Asks, who killed JFK? Well, I don't know. You'll have to ask him, because I surely don't. Mark Desire, what is the answer to life, the universe, and everything? The answer, of course, is 42. The question of, the question of the life, the universe, and everything, however, remains to be determined. Mark Desire also, I don't know everything about Firefly, oh boy, let me collect my tongue here. I don't know everything about Firefly, raw space, but it's interesting stuff. Yeah, I was not aware of all of that colorful history behind that company, but it's definitely been a bit of a roller coaster for them, and likely will continue to be so. Regarding Soyuz, Wafikiri says that sounds like 500 decibels. Hopefully the sound wasn't blown out. I was monitoring the levels on my streaming software. I don't think it made too many ears bleed, but yes, rocket launches are the loudest things that humans do besides very large explosions. John Manderson, a video about Russian rocket software development would be nice. The Apollo software story was fascinating. Good suggestion. You should go to our Discord. Here, I'll put Discord in the chat. All right. Oh, and I have a late breaking announcement regarding members. Rocket Prophet, welcome to Rawkstar. Thank you very much for your support and your membership. So that one is a brand new member just these past couple of minutes. All right, back to the questions. Snow Kittens, I've seen several studies about that sound rippling. We'll link them in Discord if I manage to find them again. That's always appreciated. I'm kind of pulled in a lot of different directions, so I don't always have the opportunity to dive as deeply into some of these topics as I would like, but there is much fascinating stuff to be learned out there. MVM Motovlog Music. I arrived late. Did you give your initial thoughts on Polaris mission? I actually didn't. I missed that opportunity, but I can pick up on Polaris next week. So Polaris is referring to, was it Jared Isaacman, the financier of the Inspiration 4 mission from SpaceX, which launched some months back, as you may recall. He will be doing, what is it, 3 or 4 more launches, something like that, under the name of Polaris. And I don't know anything beyond that, but I'll have to do some research, and I'll have a summary for you next week. So, Evgeny, new member, thank you again. I think that if we go to the moon again and come back, it doesn't matter if it's Americans or Russians, we will be ready to go to other places, for sure. Or China, for that matter, because China has big plans for outer space. They've been, not just launching satellites, but also launching Mars mission and moon missions, and they've been forging ahead all by themselves very admirably. They've been doing a great job of scientific and exploration missions in space. And so it very well could be China that that beats us there if Artemis experiences further delays. But we shall see. But whoever lands there, hopefully they are open with their process engagement and their findings, their scientific findings and technological insights that are gleaned from their missions. All right. Mark Desire, I kind of lost track of the number of Starlink launches. Yeah, they stopped numbering them from like 1 through 100 and whatever, 130 something, and they have been using a designator of the Starlink version number, so like 4-8, 4-11 are the ones that are launching this week. And that version 4 is the latest iteration of the Starlink satellite with the laser interlinks. It was, I believe, 4-7 that launched in early February, 40 of the 49 of which deorbited due to the solar storm, preventing them from being able to boost themselves into their target orbit, which we talked about previously. Geraldine Braun, Raw Space, have you personally seen any of the Starlink constellations going overhead? I have, actually. I mean, I don't, like, night sky viewing requires that you go outside at night, and the best nighttime viewing here in North Carolina is in the wintertime when it's cold. In the summertime, it's very humid, and there's a lot more there's a lot more particulates in the atmosphere for light pollution to bounce off of, and so the seeing is much better. The air is clearer in the wintertime here in North Carolina. And so, yeah, I don't usually, and plus, if I'm home, I'm in my pajamas, so I don't actually go out as much as I would like to. But I really need to get in the habit, because although in my where I currently live, I don't have a great view of the sky because I'm surrounded by a lot of trees. And so I pretty much have to go, I can't see anything from my backyard. I have to go like in my front driveway. And even so, I don't get a wide view of the sky. But still, I should go out more often. Take photos of the moon and the sun, because I have a solar filter. I could track sunspots or something. But yes, I have photographed and seen at least one, maybe two Starlink trains going overhead. It was very strange, because normally you just see a single dot. I mean, if you see any satellites at all, it's just like one dot, or the ISS is just a single dot, a bright one. But this was a whole line of dots silently going overhead, and I was like, I didn't even realize, because of course they don't make any noise, so I didn't even realize it until they were halfway across the sky, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there they are. It was a very interesting experience. I've never seen anything quite like it. The Real YT asks, why are the Chinese so secretive? Well, I mean, there's no love lost between them and the U.S. I mean, we've actively excluded them from participation in the International Space Station, so I wouldn't expect them to be particularly open with us. Is China more open with Russia? I don't know. They're a pretty secretive administration. They don't share. They hold their cards pretty close, and they don't. They don't. I mean, they're the manufacturer of all the world's goods, of course, but as far as technology, collaboration, whatever, cooperation on missions, things like that, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't really be able to gaze into their brains and see, why they are the way they are. But it's political. I mean, it's the nature of the regime. But hopefully, moving forward, the world will soften a bit and not be so polarizing and exclusionary. Of course, if recent events in the Ukraine are any indication, that is a trend that is a trajectory that is maybe not realistic, but one can always hope. I love Jeff Bezos. What happened exactly 60 years ago? Let's see. 60 years ago, February 20th. Whatever year that was. I have no idea. Was there something that happened 60 years ago? You tell me. It was before I was born. Yoda, what? I saw Venus rising this morning from my home, a county over from raw space. It was big and bright. I thought I saw Venus last night. So, it must not have been Venus that I saw, because it was in the direction of the sunset, and it was the only visible bright object over there, so I assumed it was Venus. I suppose it could have been a star, but normally after sunset, when you see a bright object toward the sun, toward the direction in which the sun set, it's Venus. But if you saw it rise this morning, then it couldn't have been visible to me last night. But I could always look it up I tried to look it up on my phone, but the Star Walk app was not synchronized with my compass, and it was pointing all different directions. So I could still look it up on maybe heavensabove.com. All right. Also early this morning, there was some satellite giving repeated glints that I could see at intervals of about 30 seconds. That's interesting. Now, there are famous satellite flashes called iridium flares from the Iridium satellite constellation. The orientation of their mirrors, or the orientation of the satellite, the structure of the satellite and the reflectivity cause these bright flashes, but they're not recurring. Like, there will be a flare and it'll fade, and that's it. But it's not like blinking. So Balaz Nemeth says, did you see Elon Musk's tweet that sparked some outrage? If you saw it, what is your opinion on it? Well, which one? The man says a lot that sparks outrage. I'm not sure what his latest from the hip comment was. I did see Elon Musk reply to Everyday Astronaut, because they're best buds, who had tweeted about the abundance of Elon Musk impersonators spamming Bitcoin scams on Twitter. But, he's just like, when will the madness stop? But as far as Elon Musk tweeting something outrageous, I hadn't noticed that one. He's pretty prolific on Twitter. He tweets quite a bit, so I don't really pay too much attention beyond the extent to which his tweets pertain to actual space-related events, such as launches or project progress or whatever. Geraldine Braun, Raw Space, thanks for that. I think it would be cool if you put whatever photos you take, post them here so we can all enjoy. And of course over on Discord. Yeah, so I don't really want to pull it up right now because I'd have to search around on my hard drive, but they're really not much to see. My camera is pretty old. It's like more than 10 years old at this point, and it does a good job, but it doesn't handle low light very well. And so I can't crank the ISO to make it very light sensitive like a more modern full frame, sensor would allow me to do. So really all you see is some dots and streaks. It's not like a beautiful image, but yeah, I could post it on Discord, and if I remember, maybe show them in the stream next week. But all right. Oh, Friday Ray this is regarding 60 years ago, the Friendship 7 flight. So apparently I neglected to add that to my calendar as a history item. So thanks for that reminder. I will add that so that next year I can mention Friendship 7. I love Jeff Bezos. Your country, that would be the USA, sent first man to orbit 60 years ago, a chap named John Glenn. Yeah, John Glenn. So I'm not great with dates, but yeah, that was a pretty big one. That should definitely be on the calendar. So thanks for the reminder. And Raw Space Addict as well. 60 years ago, Mercury mission, Friendship 7, John Glenn becoming the first American to be put into Earth orbit. Okay, good deal. All right, so Friday Ray, let's donate for a new camera. If you wish to contribute, that is my next big goal, is to invest in a new full frame camera. It's kind of been my goal for a long time, but other priorities came up. Now, I mentioned last week that I'm going to be canceling my Starlink subscription. I need to get on that because I don't know if I need to have the subscription in order to transfer it to someone else. I really need to call Starlink support and figure out what to do there, because I'm coming up on the end of the month and they're going to charge me another, $100 that I'm not going to use because the dish is not currently set up. It's in my garage because I got a new garage door and I don't want to string the cable out underneath the new garage door. But, all right, so I think that'll wrap it up for this week. Thank you all for coming. Greatly appreciate it. I hope to see you in either of the SpaceX live streams that I will be providing for you here later this week. And otherwise, keep it raw, take care, and I will catch you later. Get my stuff ready here. There we go.
So space, night, death, darkness, not being there is an essential component of being. You don't have the one without the other, just as your buzzsaw has no teeth. without having value. That's the way being